Good morning, everybody. How's everybody doing today? All right, let me give that a pause. For summer, I think so. Honestly, I have to go and look because I get a little confused sometimes. So let's go take a peek. Yeah, we can go over the midterm answers as well. Let's see. I think I've got one section of 2151. Let's take a peek because registration starts today, right? Is it today or tomorrow? This is the weirdest, the new system I'm still trying to get familiar with because this is weird. Yeah, we want summer. There we go. And then we want me, I guess. Sure. No, I'm not teaching 2151 Java 2 over the summer. Sorry. I thought I was. I'm not. So who is? Let's see. Who is doing 2151? Let's go find it. 2151. View sections. We've got it out at Auburn Hills. We've got Dr. Baugh teaching it online, 2 sections online. Yeah, Dr. Baugh is fantastic. You'll have a good time with him. Oh, okay, yeah, priority registration today, that's right. And everything else on the 9th. So, yeah, Dr. Baugh is great. It's weird. It's 2 sections with seat numbers differently, but okay, sure. And then Auburn Hills, Monday nights. Looks like that's the plan. So, sorry. I had to give something up when I was doing Python. So I think I'm teaching this one in the fall? Oh my goodness, I don't even remember. Friends, it's been rough. It's been rough. Let's see. Oh yeah, we don't even have fall listed here yet, so we're not there yet. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, Dr. Bell's our department chair here, head of our software engineering program. Real nice guy, real smart. A lot smarter than I am too, so you'll be in good hands. All right, so we got to talk about the midterm, and then we're going to get started here on chapter 7. Right? Let's take a look. No, I need quizzes. Oh, goodness. I need to grade these projects 2 for you. I'm sorry. I did not. I had other things over break that had to get done, unfortunately. So let's take a look at the midterm here. Got 11 of them in. Does that seem right? Yeah, due today, 10 a.m. Good. So let me fire up NetBeans here. Should have done this earlier. Forgot. I'm out of practice already, friends. We were off for the midterm, then off for break, and now I don't know what we're doing anymore. Man. Move that one. There we go. Been organizing in my office here, but I think I'm going to have to move back down to my basement as we changing things up with the kids in bedrooms and things, getting ready for kid number 7. So we'll see. My daughter's hoping she can move in sooner. I told her by the end of the semester, but she wants to move in sooner. So we'll see. Basement's cold though, so I don't really want to go down yet until it's warmer. Used to keep like a little space heater down there. See how that goes. All right, yeah. So, and if you have questions about the short answer stuff, let me know. Or the multiple choice fill in the blank style ones. Here, let me make sure the answers used turned on for you before I forget. Yeah, the priority registration, they try to give people who have more credits first pick at the classes to make sure they're going to get what they need to graduate, which I think is a fine strategy, and lots of organizations do that sort of thing. Yeah, and I think that makes sense. So is that way you're not having to compete with people who might not necessarily need that class right away. Okay, so you should be able to see all your answers because they didn't change the date apparently. So the other thing you have to have is a program defined. Like specifically, this is what my program is going to be. There's something about in here with the registration dates. I forget where it is. Dates. See if you can't Google that better. Well, here we go. Is this the one? Yeah, here we go. / registration. Registration dates. So for summer, priority registration, today and tomorrow. Where does it tell you what priority registration is, though? Priority. It doesn't say what it is. Is it how? Plan and register. Priority. My goodness. Why is our website so hard? Can we just search that? Priority registration. See if we get anything good here. Registration FAQs. That might be it. Right? Priority. Okay, what is priority registration? There we go. If you have 30 more credits and an active academic program. So that's like in the system that says, hey, my major is CIS software engineering. Or, anything that it might be. I love software engineering. So 3 more and active. It says day 3, but I thought it didn't have a day 3. Now I'm super confused. Because we only have 2 days of priority registration. That might be. Yeah, you can check with them and see. Give them a call if you want. Can't hurt anything to see what's up with that. Yeah, I don't know. That's just any registration, so that's weird. All right, I'm not sure. I'm sorry, but NetBeans finally loaded. So no, it didn't. I lied. I really thought it finally loaded by the time we did all that. So you should be able to see your answers right away for the midterm. The question bank was big enough. This should have been fine. I don't have any concerns there. We'll take these long answer ones, and then maybe. Oh, did NetBeans crash? It has disappeared from my taskbar here. It's going to be one of those days, folks. I think my computer knows it's Monday. So I just gave you the free point here for question 1, entering your name. Oh, there we go. There we go. Okay, so let's close these projects down. Oh, nice. Okay, so it's in the student planning side at OCC, my OCC. That's awesome. That's handy to know. Just 3 long answers we're focused on, right? Our loop, our method, and then another method question. We didn't get a chance to get to classes yet because things are weird. That's okay. It's okay if things are a little weird. We'll get there. So let me fire up a new project here. Okay, it's super weird. You can give them a call and see what's up with that if you want to register earlier. Job with Ant, job application. Monday, Wednesday. Here's midterm review. I'm just having a thought here because I'm a little slow sometimes. I think these first 2 questions my Tuesday night class has. I think this was the new one for you folks because Probably shouldn't answer those yet. Theirs isn't due till Tuesday. This is yeah. I should have been due before break. That's okay. That's okay. We'll be okay. So we might need to wait till Wednesday for some of these. Sorry. Let me double check that. Oh goodness, so many assignments. Only yeah. So theirs is due. So I assume people would do it before break, but that's fine. That's fine. I guess people didn't want to get it done before break. That's okay. I love this mug. I have to hold it with this hand so you can see. This is from Marketplace, an excellent program on American Public Media. Let's double check this. Yeah, they did the... Okay, so we can do the diamond one today. I mean, procrastinator, sure. Or maybe they started on it and they just didn't want to submit it yet. So is it okay if we just do 18 for now and then we come back to the other one? All right, so we're going to write a method print diamond int max width that prints a diamond shape. Okay, so let's add a method. Public static void print diamond int max width. So if you give me the width, we'll go print it. Those are actually the boxes. The empty boxes have funny faces on the back. Look at that. So I've been trying to save some of those. I had a larger collection, but some of them got squished and they don't stand as well. That'd be fun if they were plushies. That would be really cool. That's one of my kids' favorite cereals, so we had quite a collection for a while. Yeah, I think I had... probably going now. I had to recycle a couple of them. All right, so our print diamond with a D here. Now, we did a similar thing printing a equilateral triangle of the top half, right? Does that ring a bell? We'll check that out. Wednesday, where we were printing shapes, right? So it's something about triangle. See if we can find triangle in here. Print triangle, yeah, for lab 7. Right, so if you use this starter code for the triangle, that's great. Ideally, you would cite it some sort of source, right? Or if you used yours, fantastic. That's fine. So we're going to start with this. Right? And this is then now max width instead of base. So this will print the top half, right? Then we need to reverse it to get the bottom half. Take away 2 stars and add a space each time, right? So then we'll do essentially the same while loop here. We're going to do the opposite here, where stars is greater than or equal to 1. We'll print the spaces, print the stars, and then take stars minus 2 spaces plus 1 as we go every time. Right, and if the max width isn't odd, add 1 to make it odd. Okay, we didn't have that in here, so we'll do that real quick. So we can check if my max width is odd, or if it's even, right? If we divide by 2, right, and get the remainder, if that is 0, then it's not odd. We'll add 1 to max width. That's okay, SPJava. There's lots of ways to solve the problems, for sure. I mean, if it gets the job done, it's not wrong. I'd argue simple is nicer, but, you know, as long as it gets the job done, that's okay. All right. So, should we give it a shot? Should we try it? Let's see. So, it's not actually going to work yet, and that's okay. We're kind of doing this in little steps here. Let's try with a width of 5 and see what we get. little trial and error. Yeah, well, that can work. So we got 1, 3, 5, and then we got 7, 5, 3, 1. We don't want the 7, and we don't want the 5. So what happened? Well, at the end of this first loop, right, we added 2 stars. Stars was no longer less than max width. So stars was 2 higher than the max width. That's no good. So we need to fix that. So we need to take our stars and subtract, actually, if we subtract 2 of them here, now it starts stars and then spaces plus 1. Let's see what we get here. So this is putting us back here. So now if we do 5, we double our 5 row though, and that's still not what we want, right? We don't want to have a double row here. But it keeps us from getting the 7 row, which is better. Not quite so bad. So we didn't take away enough stars. So we actually need to take away 4 of them here and add 2 spaces. Because spaces actually goes to negative, right? Or maybe, yeah, I think it goes to negative. Let's see. I think plus 2, because it would have been 0 spaces, and then we took away 1 to negative 1 spaces. Let's try that. There, and now we get our shape. And now it should work for lots of different shapes, right? If we wanted to try, like, if we do 10, it should put it up to 11 for us. Right, so we should get 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 9, 7, 5, 3, 1. And we get a little diamond shape. That makes sense for diamond here? Prints a diamond shape in stars. There should have been a space there. I wonder what in stars was. I didn't recognize that word. Okay, and then we'll come back to 16 and 17 apologies on Wednesday, if you're okay with that. Because apparently I don't have a lot of people from the Tuesday class who've turned it in yet. I don't know if any of them know that I do the class on Monday. I think I've talked about it, but I'm not sure if that's anything someone would think of, like, oh, hey, let's go spend my Monday morning and go watch a class again. Maybe I'm just not that clever, but I don't think I would have thought of that. Let's do 1500 for Monday, Wednesday. There we go. So a little midterm review. We'll commit and push, and then we'll come back to this on Wednesday. Okay, other questions, thoughts, concerns? That's true, they could watch the recording, but you'd have to, like, hey, I want to go watch the recording after, sometime before Tuesday when it's due, and I don't know. Feels like a lot of work. Although I did have someone fail out of my course over at Dearborn because they found I used a project and turned it into a lab assignment, and they found the solution that we went over in class to the project, and they typed it in for the lab solution that they turned in, and they didn't cite any sources on it. So they ended up failing the course for plagiarism, which is such a headache. Like, filling out all the paperwork for stuff like that. It's just so obnoxious. Really frustrating. Sort of my fault? I don't know. I feel like it's not. Like, if they would have just cited their source, I would have been fine with it. It was just a lab exercise. It was just practice. So, yeah, I'm glad some people come back and rewatch it for sure. Or if people want to, take that asynchronous route. Or I've had people tell me they watch it in increased speed. I've done that sometimes with sort of like training videos and things. If you watch it at like 1.5 speed, you get through it a little faster. Sometimes, occasionally, you can do 2x speed with people, but depends on how fast they talk normally, I think. And then I had one person say they actually watched it slower speed because they wanted to, like, do the coding along with it. Like, kind of, as I was coding stuff, they wanted to code the stuff too. So, yeah, I mean, you guys are welcome to check out the Tuesday night stuff if you're bored or want to see it again. Generally, it's the same examples, but sometimes I say things differently. So, and it kind of depends on the questions we get to. But anyway, so we need to talk about Chapter 7 and classes. 7 classes. It was 7. Pretty sure it was 7. Should be 7. We'll close out of these ones here. Excuse me. So, like when we talked about methods, we didn't really given any new ways of solving problems or like a completely new tool. It is a benefit to us, right? Because we can put a name to what we're doing, and then we can avoid repeated code so we don't feel bad about ourselves. So those are all good things, but there's not any problem that we could solve with methods that we couldn't solve without methods. It might have taken longer, we would have had some more copy-paste code in there, but it didn't let us solve anything new. And the same thing's going to happen with classes. We're not actually going to be able to solve problems we couldn't have solved before, but what it's going to let us do is solve them in a different way, and in a way that's a little bit more human, a little bit more natural to the way that we think about things, the way that we interact with things in our environment, and that sort of thing. So what it lets us do is we get to take generally a noun. It doesn't always have to be a noun, but we get to take something and we're going to group it all together to treat it as one object. So we do this all the time. So if you look outside and you see a tree, when I say tree, right, that's a particular noun, but there are lots of different kinds of trees. So tree in an abstract sense, right, will tell you just, a couple things about trees. They have certain heights, they have certain colors, they have bark, they have leaves, or they have needles. These, there's different attributes. And, each individual tree has its own set of attributes. Now, you could have 2 different maple trees that are similar, but they're 2 distinct trees, right? Even if they have the same height, even if they have literally the same number of leaves, they are still 2 different physical trees. So what objects let us do is we get to take as many things as we want about a noun and group it together. Do this idea, it's called encapsulation is our technical term for it. We're going to encapsulate all of the details into one nice little package. So if I wanted to make a class for tree, I can make a class that represents a tree with a set of attributes. And then I can use that class and create an instance of it and say, okay, this particular tree now is 10 meters tall, and it has 7,000 leaves on it, and it has brown bark, and it has acorns. Sure, right? Or, anything we want to have particular attributes about this particular tree, and that means just this one tree. And then I can make a different tree that's only, 1.5 meters tall, and it has pine needles, right? And it has 7 pine cones on it. And it happens to be, I don't actually remember different kinds of pine trees right now. How about a Douglas fir? I think that's the one that always comes to mind when I think of Christmas trees. For some reason, I feel like those are like the ones they always try and upcharge you. I'm trying to remember now. That's the thing, right? Douglas fir tree. There we go. Yeah, look, the Douglas fir Christmas tree. It's not actually a true fir, a pine, or a spruce. Huh. Alright, now I'm super confused. But it is a conifer tree, right? A coniferous tree. What can we learn about it? Okay, this is not important. I'm sorry. I'm going down a rabbit hole. But we can this idea that we can now treat a tree as a particular object that has all of these attributes in our code. Now, we've used classes before. We just haven't really focused a whole lot on it yet. So we're going to do that now. So to make a class now, Java has a very particular rule here, different than other languages, in that each public class, and again, don't worry about things that are not public for now, everything's public for now, has to be in a file that matches the name of the class. So if you notice, all of these files that we create here, like Chapter 7 classes, are in a Chapter 7 classes.java file. So then you get one public class per file. So we're going to need to add a new Java file to make a new class. If you come over to our package here, so in the project, inside of source packages, you come to the package level, or right-click and say, I want a new Java class. And we'll call this one tree. Now, classes have a capital letter to start, is our convention for these. So that way it distinguishes them from other types. So classes will always have a capital letter. And now you notice in here, there is no main method. Classes generally don't have main methods. Only the start of your program will have the main method. A general class does not have main, right? So there's no main in here, right? We don't need to bother with any of that. We don't ever run the tree.java class. We want to run the Chapter 7 classes file because that's the one that has a main method here. So first you'll notice is no main. No main method. This doesn't run. Okay? But then what we're going to do is we're going to get a list of attributes. So in different people, different organizations have different standards and conventions around what goes where. I like attributes first. We're going to have a list of attributes first. Now, we're going to add another keyword here. So far, everything's been public. What we're going to do with our attributes is we're going to make them private. And a private attribute means no one else has access to it outside of this public class tree file. Yep, you come to the project, you open up source packages, you find your package here that has your first Java file in it, you right click on it and you say new Java class. And you give it a name, capital letter for the class names. I'm going to need to refill my coffee cups. This is not as large as some of my other coffee cups. I mean, it's larger than like a regular size one, but not as large as like my blue one here. Right? These two mugs side by side are like how much bigger the blue one is. I love that blue mug. Okay, so in here we're going to have to use a private set of attributes. So we're going to add this private keyword here. And what this is, these are instance attributes. So each tree gets its own copy, which makes a lot of sense, right? So every tree has its own set of attributes, right? You don't have two identical trees. I mean, they could be similar, but they're different trees. So I can say, hey, I want a private string for species. Species? Is that? It's probably not spelled right. Oh, okay. It just says I haven't used it. That's fine. And we can have a private, how about a double for height in meters? If you're using any sort of measurement, right, you always want to use the include the type, or oh my goodness. Oh, man. The unit is what I'm thinking of here. Include the unit. Don't just say height, because a lot of people will probably use feet, because we have this terrible system here in America, which is insane that we have not switched over to metric system yet. Have you seen this graph, or this image here? Map of metric versus imperial. This one here. That's it. Literally. It's us. Oh goodness, is that Liberia? Libya? It's that one. I think that's the country with an L. And then I forget what country that is over there. I'm really bad at geography. I apologize. Does it list them here? I don't know. I feel like it should have listed them here, but maybe we can just Google that. Countries that use the standard system. Countries that use imperial system. Units. Right? Uses imperial system today. Only 3 countries. United States, Myanmar, and yeah, Liberia. Okay, it was Liberia. Did I say that? I don't remember if I said Liberia or Libya. Liberia. Myanmar, but now they're using metric in parallel. And both countries are on their way to switch completely to just using the metric system. So literally just us with our stupid freedom units, or whatever you want to call them here. Is this Burma? Myanmar? I'm really bad at geopolitics too. One of them is probably more proper. I don't remember which. Anyway, I'm sorry. Anyway. Include the unit, right? So we have a species, we have a height in meters, and then what else do we want to have? Can have color, maybe? Private string for bark color. How about bark color? We'll call that good enough, okay? Well, we can have other things, but this is fine for now. So this is our tree. So you can indicate the species of tree, you can indicate the height of the tree in meters, and you can indicate the color of the bark. Here is a string, okay? So when I use tree, then each individual tree gets its own, it's not really its own copy, its own set of attributes in memory. So it's really cool. When I make a tree, then Java will go out and say, hey, operating system, I need a place to store the string species, I need a place to store the double height in meters, and I need a place to store the string bark color. And it's going to encapsulate all of those attributes together into one nice little package for me. And because they're private here, no one else has access to them. And that's going to seem silly. Like, well, what's the point? You're right. It's kind of silly right now. We'll get to that in a second. Okay? So what we need to do then is we need to give them public methods. So far we were doing methods that were public static methods. Now we're finally going to get rid of this word static. So the word static means you only have one of them and it doesn't work on an instance. You don't really have an instance of Chapter 7 classes. You don't say, hey, I want this instance of Chapter 7 classes and I want another instance of Chapter 7 classes and I want them all to have separate attributes. We don't do that with our class that has the main in it. So our methods here then don't use the word static. And we'll get to what static means later and how you can use it in classes. Don't worry too much about it right now. But we're going to write methods now. We're going to have a public, and then we don't use status. We just say string. We'll say we use get methods and set methods. So we can have a get species, and it doesn't need any arguments. And all it's going to do, it's going to return the species here. So you can get the current species of tree, and I'll return the species. Now this will get the attribute back out. Now if I want to set the attribute, I'm going to write a void method here. So public void set species, given a string for species. And what I want to do, I want to take, now you'll notice I have species in orange and species in green. Species in orange is the argument. Species in green is the class level attribute. We call these class level, right? It's defined at the class here. So it's a class level or an instance attribute. So if I say species equals species, they're both orange. And this is no good. So I want the one that is green here. So to do that, I have to say this dot. So this dot is the special keyword, means the instance attribute. Right? So this is a special keyword in Java that means the current instance here. Because I can have multiple trees now. Right? So this will be the particular tree that I'm talking about here for set species. Now you're probably thinking to yourself, this is really tedious to write get and set, right? I have to write a get method, I have to write a set method, I have to write a get method, I have to write a set method, I have to write a get method, I have to write a set method for every attribute. And the more attributes you have, the more methods you're going to have, right? So if you also add in leaf color and you add a number of leaves and you add in, shape of leaf, anything you want to come up with, number of pine cones or that sort of silly stuff. We'd have a lot of gets and sets. Yes, that is. So turns out the fine folks who do NetBeans here, or basically any good IDE, have figured out that this is really tedious and they gave us a shortcut. If you right click, you can find this amazing menu called Insert Code. This is like the coolest thing here. You right click and you say Insert Code. So now you do need to right click in the correct location. You don't want to right click inside of a method here. It's not going to be great. So generally I do it in the white space, right near the bottom of the class is generally where I do this. Because if you do it up at the top, well, I guess it's going to give us options here, but I've had trouble with it. So usually you want to do it just kind of in the white space here. Right click, say Insert Code. I want to say getter and setter. I want to insert getter and setter methods. And it says, oh, what attributes? Do you want bark color? Do you want height in meters? Or do you want everything? I'm just going to click the top box and say everything. Generate getter and setter methods for all of my attributes. Yes, please. And now it writes the methods. It writes a get height and a set height. It writes a get bark color and a set bark color. Types the code for us, right? Anytime we can make the computer automate some of this boring, tedious stuff, we're going to do it. It's fantastic. So now that we have get and set methods that are public methods in my chapter 7 classes file now, I can say tree, this is my maple tree, equals, and now I'm going to use that special new keyword here, new tree, and a set of parentheses. Remember, you get type, you get variable name, you get equals, and you get new, and then you get, now this is technically called the constructor here, with a set of parentheses. So the constructor's, class name. We'll talk more about constructors on Wednesday. Right, so the type here is tree. I'm going to call a maple tree equals a new tree. So we've done this before, right? We said scanner keyboard equals a new scanner. New scanner given system.in. Now we had to give it something inside the parentheses. It wasn't just open and close here. But we've followed this pattern before. So scanner is a class here in the Java library. Right, classes have capital letters, so equals new scanner. There we go. Right, we could add our imports, sure. We could do that. Why not? Right, follow the same pattern. So red, they're easier to approximate because we're familiar with them. Right, if you're familiar with the metric system, it's easy enough to approximate in the metric system. We really failed ourselves. Was it back in like the 80s, 70s or 80s? There was going to be a bill to make us a dual unit country, similar to what the other countries are doing, and we were going to switch over. And then they ended up not doing it because, America. I don't know why. So we're like the only ones left in the world essentially now who's these terrible units. And it's really sad because the system's awful. Why are there 12 inches in a foot? Why are there 5,280 feet in a mile? Why can't it be base 10 things, right? You have centimeters, 100 centimeters make a meter, 1,000 meters make a kilometer. Like, the system just makes so much more sense with the metric system. Yeah. Anything international, right, uses the metric system because that's what everyone uses. It's really silly at this point for us to have not switched over. Kind of an embarrassment, but that's okay. I complain about all sorts of things. It's okay. Don't take it too hard. I'll complain about lots of things. So we've used classes here before, right? So then to do something with it, oh yeah, the temperature for sure. Celsius is so much better of a system. Why would freezing be 32 and boiling be 212? Like, why do we have these numbers in our head instead of 0 for freezing and 100 for boiling? Turns out Fahrenheit was just an idiot. And literally 0 degrees Fahrenheit was the coldest it's ever been where he lived. The record cold where he lived became 0 degrees Fahrenheit. That was literally it. And that was his system. So this is just awful. Why? Yeah. So eventually we'll switch over. We'll catch up with the rest of the world, and then we can all have one happy way of measuring things. So why not? All right. So when you have classes now, you don't say tree dot, right? We don't do that, right? We don't say scanner dot. We use our variable name for it. So we said keyboard dot, and we could get a bunch of options like next line, right? And again, a bunch of things. So we say maple tree dot. And now we're going to maple tree dot. Now we're going to get more things than we wrote. Don't worry about anything that doesn't look familiar, but we see get bark color, get height in species, get height in meters, get species, set bark color, set height in meters, and set species. We're going to use these set ones first. So we can say, oh, hey, let's set the bark color to brown. I'll take my maple tree and we'll set species. No, sometimes that set thing is awful. Set species, there we go, is maple, and my maple tree dot set height in meters. Let's say it is 4.5 meters tall. Okay, not the biggest tree in the world, but a decent sized tree, decently sized. Okay. Well, now what do we do with it? Well, sure. Now, if I want to go do something with it, let's print out. So your tree species is, and then what I want to do, I want to append in here my maple tree dot get species, right? And I can have your tree bark color is maple tree dot get bark color, and I can say your tree height in meters is, and dot get height in meters. Okay, so we should get out, right, maple brown 4.5. Nothing very interesting, but we'll see if it works. Let me check my compile and save setting. It worked for the midterm review. This is what I don't get. Like, it worked for that one here, but not for this chapter 7 thing. I don't know. I think that means just hates me. And I will be getting rid of it soon, so we hate it right back. Yeah, so your tree species is maple, bark color is brown, height in meters 4.5. Not very interesting yet, but now we can make another tree, right? So I can make how about a pine tree? So pine tree equals new tree. And now pine tree dot set pine tree dot, right, my variable name dots, and I can call all these public methods. So set bark color, brown, again, they're boring, sure. Pine tree dot set species is going to be pine, or should we do Douglas fir? Why not? Douglas fir, and pine tree dot set height in meters. Let's make this one small enough to fit inside my living room. Set height in meters. Let's say this is just 2 meters tall, right? And now, okay, I'm going to copy paste this and feel bad about myself, and then I'll show you a better way in a second. So now it's not maple tree dot, it's pine tree dot. I'll give it a little format. So now I have 2 different instances of tree in memory. So Java's storing my maple tree over here with a string, a double, and a string, and it's storing my Douglas fir over here with a string, a double, and a string for all of its attributes. And I can have different trees in memory. Each tree that I create then is its own unique instance with its own set of attributes. So I can store multiple trees. Now again, we haven't really gained a whole lot here because I could have like variables like maple tree bark color and maple tree species and maple tree height. We haven't saved anything. What becomes cool now is I can add a new method here. I can say, now again, we're in where we have main. So main will be static methods here. So public static void, how about print tree? Now, remember when we write methods, we can pass them these arguments or they can have parameters. Now that I have a class called tree, I can say, hey, give me something that is a tree, please. And I'm going to call it lowercase tree here. So if you give me a type of tree as an argument, I can then call it tree in my code here. So I'm going to take all of this and cut it out here. And it's just tree dot. Now, whatever tree you give me, I can get species, I can get bark color, and I can get height because I know the tree class has those methods. So one of the other concepts here, a fundamental of object-oriented programming, is this idea of abstraction. It's going to sound crazy, but that's what it is. So what we get to do is we get to deal with things in an abstract manner. Do you folks know how Scanner works? Have you ever looked at the Java code for what Scanner actually does? No, probably not, right? No, nobody really cares. But you can say keyboard.nextLine, and we can assign it a variable name here. How about like, here's a tree, how about a string for tree color equals keyboard.nextLine. And we'll ask them enter the color of your tree, the bark color of your tree here, and it will give us whatever the user typed in. However that works in Java, we don't actually know, right? So what we're doing is this is a abstract interaction here. There's a public method called nextLine. I know it exists because it's a public method. It will do something, right, which is give me the thing that they type, and I can just use it. So we get to deal with things in this abstract manner. You say, here's a class, and here's a bunch of public methods that you can use. They will do, essentially as advertised. They'll do the things we tell you they will do. And you can use them abstractly. You don't need to know how it works for this to do what it's supposed to do. So if someone was using the tree class they don't need to know the details. I know gets and sets are boring. Don't worry too much about it right now. But they don't need to know any of the details. They just need to know, hey, there's a method called getSpecies, getBarkColor, and getHeight. And they can use those methods, and they can call those methods on anything that is a tree. Any instance of tree, you can go call these get methods. Okay? So I can get rid of this entire block of code here, and I can just say, hey, I want to print tree, call my method, given the maple tree. And down here I can say, hey, I want to call print tree, given my pine tree. Right? And instead of passing it the, this is tree bark color. We'll enter the bark color, and then how about enter the species? Maybe species first, right? Enter the species of your tree, and then we'll just say species. We should probably do them in order, right? Why not? Do species first, and then we'll do tree color, and then we'll do height. So enter the height in meters of your tree. This will be a double for height in meters. Double.parse double. Given the keyboard next line. And pass the height in meters. Okay, so anything the user types in, right, we're going to save as these attributes here, and then we can print it back out. Again, not very interesting to just ask them for things and print them right away, but we're getting there, right? We're trying to figure out how this all works. And we can make one specifically that just, here's the hard-coded attributes. But this print tree method now can say, hey, if you give me a tree, I'm going to go call these methods on it. And what happens here, which is super cool, let's see, we usually do this in Word, right? I think Whiteboard just locks my computer up for some reason. I don't know why. Did not order the new computer yet. I'm probably for the summer semester. I think is what I'm going to do here. We'll see. We'll see. So when you say this new keyword, so you say tree, I don't know, like pine tree equals new tree, right? This new keyword here, Java goes out to the operating system and says, hey, operating system, I need a place to store a tree. So you get some memory address here, like x2934, that's going to store a tree. It's going to have a string for the color. It's going to have a double for height. And it's going to have a string for the species. Right? The string for color then will go point to some other location in memory, like x3211, and we're going to have brown. Right? Remember, string is a reference type. Here's the location in memory where it is. Double for height will just have the actual height here. So we can literally put in, 4.5 right in memory for the double for height, and then double for species is going to say, hey, here's 4192 was Douglas fir. Right? So when you create this new keyword, it goes and allocates memory to store a memory address, a double, and a memory address. Then we go in, when we set these values, we say, oh, okay, we'll make this new string over here and make this new string over here. So it's going to make those instances in memory here. And then when you call this function print tree, what we're doing, right, in our function here, print tree, print tree, given a tree, or lowercase tree, we say, oh, hey, I called it, and I'm going to give you now x2934 for your tree. And with this memory address, you can say .get color or .get height or anything you want here, and it will go to this memory address and say, hey, give me your color. And we'll say, oh, sure, my color's over here at this memory address, and it will give us back this memory address for get color. So get color will return this memory address here. Oops, sorry. Return it right here. And then if I want to print it or something, right, we can do anything we want with that string at that location in memory, which is super cool. So we're passing the reference to it. Right? In Java, anything that's a class is passed by reference. We say, this is where it lives in memory. Go to 2934 in memory And you can go look it up yourself and use any public methods. This is where it exists. We'll give it a run. So species, we wanted a maple tree. We wanted, this was brown, and 4.5 meters. Sure, why not? Maple brown, 4.5, and then our Douglas fir, 2 meters. And not anything super interesting yet, and not things we could not have done without classes. But what it lets us do is we now get to start writing code in a way that is more natural for people. Remember, Java could care less, right? The reason we write code is because we want to understand it. We want to be able to take an idea and do that functional decomposition, break it down into smaller and smaller and smaller problems, and then make sense of, okay, this step, and then this step, and then this step, and then this step. So it's really natural for us to talk about objects and nouns, right? When I say tree, you understand that it has attributes, and you understand that you can do things with it. Now, in our cases, trees aren't all that interesting. We don't really have any actions yet, but you can get and set values here. Eventually, we could add a thing like chop the tree down, and we could chop the tree down, sure, and they would probably set its height to 0 or something. And I don't know what we'd set colors to. No, lists in Python are something completely separate. Very different. Right, so if we wanted to, we could add another method here then. So we can add methods to our class. So you don't need just gets and sets. We can have other ways of interacting here. And other things that we get to do as well. So let's fix that one up first. So let's do a little bit of sanity checking here. To set height in meters, one of the things a class is supposed to do is protect the integrity of itself. It should not let you give it an invalid height. Now, I know what a valid height is. Right? I can kind of understand there's a range of heights that are valid that happens to be something greater than 0. Right? That you can't have a negative height tree. That's just, it's not possible, thanks to our laws of physics and things, right? I'm going to say, hey, if the height in meters is greater than 0, let's go do this thing. Otherwise, let's go say you're just 0. Right? So I can add in the sanity checking or defensive coding or checks here. I don't know. We're going to say it ensures height is valid. Right? So if you try and give me something that is not a valid height, like a negative value, because I don't know what users are going to type in, right? The tree class has nothing to do with system out print line and scanner keyboard using next lines, right? The tree class has nothing to do with any of this. The beauty of that, right, with this idea that methods were reusable, now classes get to be reusable. And if you spend enough time writing Java code, you're going to figure out that a Java class doesn't care where it gets used, right? All we've done so far are console-based applications, right, that run at the command line. And we have to type things in, and we have to look at what was spit out on the screen. Eventually, we're going to get to graphical user interface programs that have buttons and menus and things you can click on. The tree class should have nothing to do with either of those. It doesn't care. It just knows it has attributes and methods. That's what the class does. So it needs to check for attributes and check for the validity of them there, right? Because it shouldn't be asking the user with keyboard next line sort of things with any sort of validation loops. We can't do a validation loop inside of the class because there's no prompts here. We were never asking the user again. So we can't have validation loops because there is no prompt. And should be no prompt, right? There shouldn't be here. We need to accept an argument and we need to do it. CIS 150, Knox Quick with, over at Dearborn for 150. They use 3-digit. No, I haven't taught C++ in quite a while. I don't think I have any of them out there recorded either. It's been a while since I taught it. I've got some code out of my GitHub repository, but no, I don't think I have any streams of it. Let's see. Okay, yeah, I don't think I've got any recordings. I think the last time I taught it was summer of 2019, maybe. So what do I have here? Past courses. Should look. Yeah, do I have 150? Got 1500s. Yeah, sorry, I don't have any. So we can do some sanity checks here, some ensuring the validity of values here, right? But there's no loops here because we're not prompting. So we can still check to make sure it's valid, but we know what kind of prompt it was, right? If it's a graphical user interface application, the prompt could be a box they type in, right? It could be a slider. There's all sorts of cool tools we'll look at when we start getting to graphical user interface applications that we can use. You could make it as a mobile application, right? This could be done on a little mobile app that someone runs on their Android device, right? And their inputs are different than graphical user interface application inputs are different. Then you can make it a web application, right? If you take the Web Systems Development course, 2454 that I teach, we use Java and PHP. We do both, which is weird. That's, we'll get updated at some point. You can use Java classes in your code to write web applications. The class shouldn't care where the information comes from. It has a parameter that you provide, and then it can do some sanity checking. Okay? Hey, thanks for following along. Glad to have you here. Okay, so the class is protecting its integrity, making sure you don't give it invalid values. And that can be hard. But the reason is users will give you the weirdest stuff, right? We have very little control over what the user gives us. So we need to check to make sure what we're given then is valid. Because users are crazy, and they do funny things here. And that's okay, not a big deal. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do then, we're going to add another method. Right, so I want a public void method. It's not going to return anything here. We'll call this chop down. If you chop down the tree, I'm going to take my height in meters and set it to 0. Right? It's not a get, it's not a set. This is an action here. So what generally happens now, right? So far, all we've done is have these attributes. So attributes have gets and sets generally. We'll talk more about sets later, but there's no action. So the ways that you interact with a noun, right? The verbs, the thing that noun does, tend to become methods. You can chop down a tree, right? Sure, we can do that. You could water a tree, but we don't really have ways of doing anything interesting there. So if we chop down the tree, then we'll see the height is going to go back down to 0. So I can say pine tree dot chop down. Now it gets a set of parentheses. This is that we're calling the method here, right? Just like for our gets, we're calling methods with a set of parentheses. Then I can print the pine tree again. And we'll see its height went down to 0. So the other thing about classes is they shouldn't have system out print lines either. Maple, brown, 4, why not? So we'll see, here's our Douglas fir, brown 2 goes to Douglas fir, brown 0. It got chopped down. So classes should not have anything that prints either, because we don't know where it's going to be used. Don't have print line commands, right? If you want to give something back, we need to return a particular value to a user. Is how we send things back. Okay, so I'm going to go about an hour here, so why don't we take a break? We'll come back in a little bit, and then we'll probably talk about our lab, and we'll get to a simple lab, something similar to this, okay? And we go from there, and then we'll pick it up more on Wednesday. All right, so we put some music on. Oh, I closed my music player. Then we take 10 minutes, get yourself some coffee, then we'll come back, talk about the lab, and go from there, okay? Did we already play this one? I feel like we already played this one. I don't know. That's fine. Alright, back in 10, folks. Put on break time. That puts us out to 11:16. I'll see you in a minute. Hey folks, welcome on back. Alright, hopefully you got your coffee refills here. Alright, put that back to pause, please. Come on, click the pause button. Back to full. Or like half, whatever. Alright, so we've talked about some basic classes here, right? And ways we can kind of protect the integrity of that class with these set methods here. So for our lab, then, we're going to go try this ourselves. Let me go to Classroom and set a link here, and we'll add a new lab assignment. So we need lab 8 for classes. And we want lots of practice with the classes. Now, again, it doesn't let us solve problems that we couldn't solve before, but it's going to let us work on things in a little bit more of a natural fashion. This is lab 8 for classes. So we'll do lots of lab classes. Classes labs. So we'll do one today and then one on Wednesday as well. So this will be due next week at 10 a.m. Add a new lab 8 classes lab. Oh, excuse me. Sorry. Woo. 10 points. You'll turn in the URL. Submit the URL to the feedback pull request. And we'll make a lab 8 one. There we go. Lab 8. Oh, winter 2022, lab 8. Java template, there we go. And feedback pull requests. Awesome. No, we're not going to use trees. We're going to do a different class. So we're going to write a class for, we're going to say cup. So cup, we're going to have private attributes for color. Max size in milliliters. Max volume, I guess, is probably a better volume in milliliters. So a string for color, right? String for color. Probably an int, right? If you're dealing with milliliters, probably those are whole numbers, right? Because the unit is small enough. Like the difference between 1 milliliter and 2 milliliters is really small, so you probably don't need like 1.5. Okay. And then we'll have an int for current volume in milliliters, volume in milliliters, and a string for current liquid, or I don't know, current contents. We'll just say contents. How about that? Contents. Here. Hey, Crow, thanks for following along, my friend. Right, so we're going to have a string for color, a string for the contents, like coffee or Diet Coke or tea or water. I don't know what else people drink, right? I'm sure there's other things. The max volume is like how much it can hold, and then the current volume is what's currently in it, right? So we're going to add set and get methods for all the attributes. For set volume methods, ensure the value is not negative, right? So I guess technically, like a plate, you could call a cup with a 0 max volume. So 0, I'm going to say, is okay. Like it's not actually a cup at that point, but sure, we'll pretend. Like a very complete flat plate would be a cup with a 0 volume. Why not? Sure. That we don't really care. But negative is illegal. You cannot have a negative volume, right? This violates the laws of physics. So no negative volumes. And then for set current volume in milliliters, ensure the current volume does not go above the max volume. So if I say the max volume is 250 milliliters, you can't put 300 milliliters in a 250 milliliter cup. You'll end up with coffee on your lap, and you'll be sad. Okay, so these are things that we're going to do to protect the integrity of our class in those set methods. Okay, and that's it for now. We don't need to add anything else. So just sets and gets, but our set methods need to make sure we don't have negative values and that current is never more than max. Okay, so that's what we're going to be working on for the rest of the lab today. All right, don't forget we got study group on Tuesday evening, 5 to 6, and Wednesday right after class, 12 to 1 for study group coming up, okay? Tuesdays 5 to 6, Wednesdays 12 to 1 your study groups. It'll get you a bonus point on your quizzes for that week, and honestly, it's great extra practice, especially if things aren't quite clicking for you. The more you practice, the better you're going to get at it, okay? You don't need anything in main SB Java. If you want to, go for it. You probably want to make sure that it does what it's supposed to do, but we don't need anything in the main right now. Just make the class is all we need here. Yep. Yeah. None required. Just the class for the lab. When we get to our project, we'll have some more interesting stuff on Wednesday. But so do another lab on Wednesday, and we'll talk about the next project on Wednesday. Yeah, you can make as many as you want here, but all I need is the class for cup that has the set and get methods and the attributes. So private attributes, public set and get. We just made a tree that represents hey, here's the species, the height, and the bark grow. Not a data structure tree. Yep, so you don't need anything in main SB Java for this lab. Nothing's required, just the tree or the cup class itself with the private attributes and public methods. Right, with some sort of sanity checking on these sets to make sure they're not negative. And then on our set current volume, it can't go above max. So if you do it in the wrong order, if you try and set current volume and then set max volume, bad stuff will happen. Right, so I should specify, that's actually better here. Thank you for reminding me. If you try and say, hey, my max volume is 250 and I'm setting current to 300, we should set current to the max because it will fill to the top, right? It will fill there, but it can't go over. So where we said, like, if you give me negative, let's set it to 0. That's fine. Set current volume to the max if it is larger. Right, so if the current volume is larger, set it to the max. So like you'll pour 350 milliliters in, but what stays in the cup is 250. Right, everything else got on your lap and you're sad. But we'll let you do it, okay? Hey, thanks for coming along. Glad to have you here. Karimzi? Zay? If you let me know how to say your name, I'll try and get it right here. I apologize, I'm terrible at names. Just takes a little bit of practice. All right, any other thoughts, questions, concerns? We got the rest of today for lab. We'll meet back up on Wednesday. We'll finish up chapter 7, and then we'll work on the next project. And I've got some more homework to do with grading or stuff. I apologize. But we can go from there, okay? Oh no! Your company did one of those practice phishing email things? Yeah. We had people who like wanted to be clever and figure out what it was. So I've seen some smart folks like, hey, I opened it in a virtual machine. It's not going to do anything bad. They just want to like kind of see where it was going to take them, that sort of thing. Still risky even to click on it, right? Because then like they know people are likely to look at it, even if we're doing it in sort of a safe manner. So you're already on the chopping block for it. Oh no. The Apache HTTP client. I've used it. I wouldn't say I'm very familiar with it. I use the Apache server, but that's to the extent of what I do with it. I turn it on and then I throw Java code at it to write servlets and things. So not nothing under the hood. No familiarity there. Sorry. All right. So if we don't have anything else, we got the rest of the day for lab, and I'll see you folks on Wednesday. What was question 17 asking about? Are in the midterm? Red? That was the one where like doing some silly things with numbers, except multiples of 3, right? Let's go to 17. Maybe we can jump to it, right? Does that work? There we go. Sum of numbers except multiples of 3. So just looping from 1 to n, and if it's a multiple of 3, don't include it in the sum. If it's not a multiple of 3, include it in the sum. Right, so like sum of numbers except multiples of 3 int of 10, I would add 1, 2, 4, 5, 7, 8, and 10, and sum those together and return the value. Yeah, Kareem, it sounds like you just need to change your, like, the response, whatever you're returning. I don't know how you're using it, though, so that would probably take a lot more than just, how do you do this sort of thing? You probably have to update the method. Yeah, no problem, Red. All right, folks, you take care, and I will see you around on Wednesday.